last time we talked about one of these kinds of movies on The Captivating Christian, I did it as a crossover review with a known Harry Potter fan, Shannon Reviews, to try and make things a little more fair and balanced. So, I figured since we're doing yet another anti-Harry Potter film, I figured it'd be appropriate to ask her if she'd want to come back and do yet another collab. So what do you say, Shannon Reviews? Would you like to do another crossover review? No! Okay, alright, okay, alright. Children vs. Wizards, or Kids Against the Sorcerers as it's also called, is a 2016 Russian religious film that was apparently based on a book. Both the book and the film were made to try and warn the audiences about the evils and dangers of witchcraft, which are, of course, openly supported by the Harry Potter books and films. This is apparently still a talking point in 2023, because let it be known, on The Captivating Christian, we don't let many things go. But you know what? Apparently it's now mainstream to not like Harry Potter, because now the left seems to be against it as well.
Did somebody say Harry Potter? I've been wanting to take a shot at that blatant fascist propaganda for years.
Last little bit of trivia is that this review was specifically requested to me by one Spongy 3 numbers. That's not his channel name. It's Spongy444, damn it. Spongy 3 numbers. I'm gonna say it without laughing. It's Spongy444. The film begins with some fantastic animation that only AI could afford. I actually don't know if this was made with AI, but come on, it certainly looks like it. We begin with the villain of the movie, Leonard, being driven around in a limousine, which is being chased by those Dementor creatures from Harry Potter. And then we get live action segments. Okay. These scenes serve as a framework to the main plot, as this soldier is telling these young recruits the story of how children are going up against evil wizard youth, like some kind of form of encouragement for the young soldiers. Back in the story, some Russian military government officials talk about sending some spies into the High Academy of Occult Science, the stand-in Hogwarts for the film.
Even though Hogwarts was supposed to be in England in the original Harry Potter, this version of Hogwarts is in Scotland for some reason.
Wait a second, they're actually not allowed to use any of the characters or locations from Harry Potter because of something called copyright? Well, excuse me. I thought that the leftists just wanted us to share everything. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen them. All those left-wing, pot-smoking young people out in the streets demanding that they should have the right to sell knockoff t-shirts with bootlegged images of Michael Rat on them. I don't know. I just kind of figured that the only people who complain about copyright were, liberal millennials. I mean, if I was faced with a copyright takedown on somewhere like YouTube, then I would say that I'm being oppressed because I'm just that important. Anyway, they discussed implementing spies into the academy, and apparently they tried this before, but the spy they sent never returned, implying that he was killed. So the new plan is to send a bunch of teenaged operatives in. With some convenient footage they had on their iPad 2, footage of the school is projected onto the wall. We see this stand-in for Dumbledupe, and their plan is to spread the word of witchcraft into the minds of Russian youth. Meanwhile, with Leonard, he, is doing this. Yeah, have fun looking at that one, folks. He works at the academy and is in charge of manipulating the students. Like, for example, this red-headed Weasley girl begins to preach the word of God and how he's the only one who can truly perform miracles. But then Leonard leans his entire body on her desk, staring her in the face, and tells her she can perform any form of magic if she becomes a wizard, betrays her family, and disgraces her country. No, little red-headed Weasley girl, stay true to your beliefs, and you can fight the evil academy system. Think of it, we can call it the fourth God's Not Dead movie. I can just picture it now. God's Not Dead 4. The Road Chip. This blonde boy soldier's mission is to return the children to their country and away from the academy. So him and his fellow brotherly soldier are off to get those children away from the corrupting world of wizardry. Apparently, that Weasley girl we saw earlier is related to this military man with the mustache. So as he, the blonde boy, and Soldier 2 discuss things, she eavesdrops on them, learning their plans in the process. So the two soldiers head out, they parachute, and we get a montage of them doing rugged, manly spy things. Until they come across another mustached man who begins to recount a story of men who came into Russia, killing innocent civilians, and forcing anti-religious symbolism on everyone. Also, this was committed by, you guessed it, the Wizards. Oh, of course, the great Wizards versus Russians conflict of 1999. It's a truly important piece of history and world politics that we shall not soon forget. It's up there with World War III, when America and Canada went to war over a comedy film under the title A Words of Fire. It's serious business, I assure you.
Well, of course, first we had a bunch of Christian talking points in this movie, and now this movie's trying to force the military-industrial complex. As if I needed more reasons to hate Harry Potter. They're not even trying to be subtle with it, they're just forcing a bunch of these far-right talking points down our throats.
Right-wing talking points? From communist Russia? I'm sorry, I thought you were supposed to be the liberal here. I thought this would be more your speed, you snowflake. Back with the IRL actors, the military leader closes the story there for the night as they all go to sleep. Okay, that was incredibly necessary. It really accomplished a lot. Then we get a scene of them showing soldiers training to some music that was definitely still being listened to in 2016. At least I think young people were listening to this kind of music. I don't listen to most popular music.
Boy, Good.
After the three child soldiers play rock, paper, scissors for a little bit, their general returns to them and continues the story. Some of the military higher-ups ride on bicycle helicopters and travel to ancient Greece to discuss how awesome Jesus was. Then we get some epic animation of a dove flying across the sunset.
Nature is so fascinating.
The military men talk to these ancient Greeks for a little bit, and they tell them about how witchcraft and the devil cannot corrupt you if you're one with the Lord and have spiritual armor. Back with these guys, they're told to harness their inner spirituality by going into a cave, and they soon are attacked by some spoopy ghost demons, and they react accordingly. Apparently, this was a test from the ancient Greeks, so they are given cross necklaces for their bravery. Once they get to the academy, they do some snooping around for a bit, but Draco slips and falls into the skylight. Nobody seems to question this, and he's immediately enrolled into the school. I mean, they're supposed to be evil, so naturally they must not have brains. I mean, what, do you want to have bad guys who are actually competent? What, do you expect there to actually be genuine conflict in this movie?
I would say they should probably give these guys a really forced tragic backstory so that way we could redeem them and not make anyone an actual bad guy in this movie. But then I started to remember, Harry Potter is trash water that I refuse to read or watch. Humph.
And according to the real-life general man, they let him into the school earlier because he was a wizard or because he was a Russian. Because, you know, the villain's whole goal is to corrupt Russian youth.
Well, if they're looking for easy minds to corrupt, maybe they should consider coming over here to the West. Because in America, you have all these young people being corrupted by these far-right chuds and alpha males and dude bros.
Hey, I was going to say the exact same thing, except the end of it I was going to change with, yeah, people are so easy to corrupt in America. What's with all the young people being indoctrinated by these soy boys and these commies online? Ah, yes, of course. Thank you, Ariel. Keeping things on track. The perfect moderator. Terrific. This evil bald man with horns is teaching students to embrace greed, and they will someday be able to summon a thing called the Philosopher's Stones, Meanwhile, the redheaded Weasley girl managed to make it all the way back to the academy because she knows hypnosis or something. It happens. And she is now in a class that is teaching all the young female students to become whores, because that is apparently where wizards come from. Ew, why are these characters so ugly? I mean, I know, they're supposed to be the bad guys, but this animation got worse somehow. Come on, Russia, get it together. That night, Dracula talks to this brunette girl, and she tells him about how horrible this place is, letting him know that the bald man with horns is evil. Well, yeah, that should be pretty obvious. He has horns. It's pretty obvious to me, and I'm not even a scholar. In the next scene, this Professor McGoggles lady is going to teach the students how to fly, and the only way to do that is if they give their souls to Satan, turn against God, their family, and their country of Russia. So does this explain how all the children were able to fly in Kiara the Brave? Because they denounced their religion and their family and their country? If so, that makes me hate that movie even more than I already do. In enters this round fellow who begins talking about how bad Russia is. This upsets the Weasley girl, and she talks about how much she loves Russia. He then seizes her, and by that I mean he just puts his arms on her shoulders like she's going to get a massage. Dr. Dre's fellow soldier stands up and praises Russia too. Then he starts to fend off the other students with his broom. They try to flee, but they're quickly surrounded by men with guns.
It all makes sense now. Hogwarts was actually a front established by the NRA.
Oh sure, just make everything about politics when it's convenient for you. The only people who do that are pinheads on the internet. Anyway, our main characters are quickly rounded up and put into cages. Draken goes over to the evil bald man with horns, and he says that he will destroy his friends. And he tells all of this to Dragnet after he asks to buy a bonsai tree from him, and the Eggman just responds by saying that he'll pay with his friendship. He drops the tree and the pottery breaks on the ground. It's revealed that what's inside the tree's pot is a powerful decorative egg, and this egg is so powerful it apparently caused World War I. So being a Satanist naturally means you have the ability to fly, and World War I was caused because of an egg. I am learning so much today. Drake and Josh takes the egg after hearing about its power, and he now demands to be taken to where his allies are being held captive. The evil Melon Man shows him the underground cage basement of the school, and then he just kind of leaves because he has a banquet to throw to summon the Antichrist. Drink and Juice are able to free the Weasley girl, but his fellow soldier is nowhere to be found. But that's not important right now. What is that this student walks up and begins talking about how much he loves Russia. Wow, could you imagine if we had movies over here in America that glorified America as much as this movie glorifies Russia? Then we'd actually have movies that were worth watching, like in the 80s.
To me, it sounds like what you're describing is propaganda, bro.
Oh, really? Is that so, kiddo?
Kiddo? That doesn't make sense. There's like a 4-year gap between us. I don't really understand what that's supposed to mean. Like, I'm not younger than you, and I don't think you're that much older than me, so I don't really get it.
It turns out to be a trap, as Voxelmint, I don't know if that's his name, it just says so in my notes, he shows up and blasts them with evil magic, but Weasley's spiritual armor is too strong because she's dedicated to her country and her future husband. Alucard sways the student boy to the ways of Jesus, and he is now protected. But the evil Jeff Bezos then flees to the banquet, and Draco then calls the military. And by that I mean this mustached military guy from earlier. The banquet has begun, and it's revealed that the Antichrist was some random female student who we've never seen before. The villains plan to sacrifice Weasley and Blonde Boy, but they set off a bomb and the whole building explodes. As every one of the main characters makes it outside, the wizards tell the heroes to join them or else. That is until Mustache Military Man shows up in a helicopter and mows them all down with machine guns. And as the movie comes to an end, they quickly explain what happened to Leonard. He was apparently going to die with the rest of the wizards, but he was eaten by a monster in the caves that we saw earlier in the film. Couldn't possibly have shown that on screen or anything, just quickly brush it off in some exposition. So that was Children vs. Wizards, and what did you think about it?
This movie was just a bunch of pro-Christian, pro-military industrial complex Russian propaganda. I'm just gonna go back to rewatching old BreadTube videos and TikTok drama videos on YouTube.
Right. Well, you know, a lot of people might be quick to say that this movie had bad things like the animation, the music, the voice acting, the live action acting, and just an all over the place story that really didn't make any sense. Would be willing to denounce the entire movie as bad? Well, I would agree with all of that. However, because it was pro-Christian and talked negatively about something that I have never read or seen myself, that naturally means that I like it. What, do you think it's possible to agree with something and not like it and vice versa? You're crazy. Well, next time on The Captivating Christian, we'll be talking about something that I highly doubt will even remotely be seen as controversial. It's a movie about Christopher Columbus. And also a talking woodworm. And an evil swarm of locusts. And a fairy princess.